everybody, welcome back to my coloring channel. For today, I'm going to be coming back into Meine Reise durch Afrika to do a color along over here. So I'll start here and maybe continue here, but definitely do this one. So I did a really messy swatch of the different colors that I have, going from my teals to my greens, coming down to some pinks and oranges. And that's just going to be encompassing a really happy floral, very springtime feel. So please follow along as I color along. So here I'm going to be starting with hot red and pink flamingo to create some of these flowers. The pink flamingo is one of the new colors and I really recommend it. It's the pastel range that Derwent was missing all along. And so as you can see, when I'm putting it on, I don't go all the way up to the edge. I leave that edge white and I use that darker heart red closer towards the center of the flower, and this can help create a bit of a gradient once you activate it with water. And so now I'm using just a water brush to activate it. As you can see, I'm starting from the lighter area and having that bit of an overlap with the color to pull it towards the white to make it that nice pale pink. And then I'm slowly working my way down towards the darker area. This is because the dark can really quickly overpower the light. And so if you work from light to dark as opposed to dark to light, you can make sure you're preserving some of that white. And so you can also make sure that in between the areas, you can go back and forth a tiny bit with the water brush to blend it out to make it a bit smoother. This is not going to seep through to the other side with this paper, as long as you're doing it carefully without using too much water. So over here, I'm trying to get back some of that white at the edges to maintain that nice gradient effect. So I'm using a Pen Artist white pen size B, and I'm blending it out with my finger to make it a bit more smooth in its transition towards those darker colors. And it works out pretty well to kind of get some of that light back, since it's a pretty transparent white pen. For this next one, I'm using the lime green, which is one of the new colors in the 100 upgrade with the Derwent Inktense, and again, one of the really nice missing colors that's really important to have, since it's the only light green that they really offer. It's very similar to the chartreuse, yellow chartreuse of the Prismacolor set. And I'm using this one first to kind of dig in the highlights, so I'm putting it on the areas which I want to be lighter and more highlighted. Now I'm coming in with my mid-tone, and I'm using apple green as my mid-tone. So I'm kind of outlining that highlight on both ends with this mid-tone, and that can again help begin the process of creating that. With Derwent Inktense, you're not going to blend them when they're dry. Unlike with Prismacolors, I'd be overlaying them a bit more and blending them out a bit more, because when you activate it and they become wet, they can blend into each other a bit more easily. So I'm coming in now with Hooker's Green as some of my darker shades over here, and those are going on the edges because that's where the shadows will lay with this particular leaf. And again, when you're activating it, make sure that you're starting from that lighter area. So for me, this time it's in the center of the leaf, and then I'm kind of making my way towards the outer area. You can see that I'm lifting my pen quite often to wipe it away, and so that does lose some color pigment when you do that, but it also ensures you have a bit more control over the blend of how it's going, and make sure you don't have any bleed through out of the lines. And so it helps make it nice and clean that way as well. So as you can see, I'm starting with the center. I'm now going towards the edges, and that helps blend it out so it's a smoother transition between the colors. And I'm just slowly building up the layers as I go. Now to add some variety, I'm now using leaf green for the dark tone instead of that hooker's green for the dark tone, and this gives it a bit more of an ochre color to it since it's a bit more of an earthy or browner green, and that helps add a bit of variety by modifying that dark tone. So here you can see that once it's dried, you can actually add a second layer on top to build up some of that color. And this is one of the ways in which you can have more intensity of color with the Derwent Inktense. You just have to really make sure that the page is dry first though, otherwise you're going to start tearing up the paper since the fibers will be more fragile if they're wet. And so I'm coming in with spring green this time to add in a bit more vibrancy to the dark areas. And what I'm doing is, as I'm building up the shadows, I'm starting to curl them around the highlight a tiny bit so that the highlight looks like it's more in that center top part of the leaf and not going over the edge, and that helps give it a tiny bit more dimension as well. So there you have it. Here's the final completed page. So over here we had the leaves, which are more of the ochre leaves colors, so like the leaf green mixed in with a tiny bit with that lime green. And some spring green. Over here with kind of just like those brighter ones that had a bit more of like a beech green with a hooker's green mixed in, and then over here with these super bright light ones, that is again your lime green and your apple green combo over there with a hint of gold with yellow in the middle. Over here what I did is I had the color be mostly in the middle, and then I left the edges white, so that when I was activating that Inktense I was able to just pull a bit of that color towards the edges, and that's kind of how you get this ombre effect with those yellows. So that was a mix of gold, golden sun with just like a tiny bit of mango over there, and the stems here was wild flame. And so the last thing was with the blues. Most of this is actually Malibu blue with a bit of mineral blue in it. You can, if you want to, do dark aquamarine, but I found that was being a bit too dark when we have a palette that's a bit paler. And so what I did was I just had a tiny bit of the mineral blue on the outside, and then the Malibu, which is lighter, coming in on the middle, and then again just super light and many parts white, so that way when you're activating it in such a way that you create that ombre effect and just have it be nice and pale. And lastly I just did a white gel pen overlay just to kind of white out some of these black lines, and that helps especially with the flowers to make it a bit paler, and same with the bubbles. And with the bubbles I also threw in just some extra colors, so the pinks and the yellows I just added in as extra little reflections to make the bubbles look a bit more realistic as bubbles. And so there you go. This is that completed page. I hope this was helpful in showing you the ways in which you can really layer the Inktense multiple times if you want to in a coloring book, and it does not bleed through at all. It just slightly wrinkles, but you can iron that out if you want to. And to kind of go over finally the last bit of the color chart, sorry for the bleed through on this side, that's with an alcohol marker, but this is it for the colors that I used. So like I said, the Malibu and the mineral blue for the water, experimenting between the gold, golden sun, and mango for my yellows, a tiny bit of wild flame and burnt orange put in here and there. Sorry, especially for this area here, because that's where I made these flowers here a bit more orange, which is why I brought orange in over here, because otherwise you have this random orange flower with all these pink flowers, and so I added those in over there for balance. The Pink Flamingo and the hot red for the pink flowers, and then just the mix of all of these different greens to help with the different leaves. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this was enjoyable, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.